Thank you everyone for joining us. We have Dave Roberts now available.
There's a lot of that.
No phone's on right now. First question from Jack Harris. Go ahead, Jack.
Hey, Dave. Has Pedro, Baez, or Joe Kelly thrown their sessions today?
Pedro threw today. He threw 2 innings, and velocity, everything was good. Came out of it feeling good. So, as we sit here on Wednesday, probably activation this weekend looks very possible. So really good, unless something changes. Jock was a part of that simulation, so that was good for him to get some at bats as well.
Cool. You guys are going to have a lot of guys in the mix for individual awards over the last couple weeks of the season here. Are those things lessened at all by the 60-game schedule? Is it different? You think for those guys being in the mix, including Clayton and Dustin for Rookie of the Year and Mookie for MVP? I mean, how different are those races compared to a normal season?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly different in the sense that it's a smaller sample, but it's what, everyone had the same opportunity. And so I still think that, whether it's MVP or Rookie of the Year, I still think that those awards shouldn't be, a void this season.
With Clayton specifically, has the difference in these last couple starts just been the more precise location and the consistency of the location with, to go along with the improvements in his stuff?
It's certainly, like all things, it's a combination. Obviously the stuff is playing up. The slider command, it has been very good and probably been the most consistent it has over quite some time. And then now you layer in the consistency with the curveball and the fastball command. So that's, I mean, all of it. And it's been really fun to watch Clayton kind of mix differently than he has over the last couple of years. But again, the slider consistency has been the key for me.
Next question from Lana. Go ahead, Lana.
Dave, how is Walker and that right index finger doing today?
Walker's doing well. The index finger, I would say it's kind of was a net neutral as far as that outing. So we're kind of in that same situation, figuring out how we want to go from here to his next start. So it's a conversation we're having and really don't need to make a decision right now or the next day, but we're trying to figure out the best way to combat it. But as far as the shape of the finger, Walker's body, his mind, all good.
Along the lines of what Jack was talking about with Clayton, a 1.50 earned run average right now doesn't qualify in terms of ERA just based on missing the time that he did on the IL, but he will qualify soon. What is your case for him for NL Cy Young this year with what you've seen?
Alana, I don't know who else is in. Obviously, DeGrom is always in the mix. I don't know who else is in there. So I guess when it comes down to it, I got to kind of dig a little bit deeper. I just know he's pitched like an ace. So as far as strikeouts versus walks, obviously the surface numbers, but I just don't know enough. I get so mired in each start, but certainly no surprise that he's in that conversation.
Your boy Yu Darvish is in that conversation, Dave.
Yeah. Yu's, you know what? Yu's, I did know that he's having a nice year. He's throwing a lot more strikes, and the slider, the velocity obviously is there. So good to see that from him.
what is your opinion on the Pirates, as well as all Puerto Rican-born players wearing 21 today, and your position on whether 21 should be retired?
Yeah, I think that the Pirates wearing it, I think is fantastic. It's great for the city. It's great for the organization. I think that Puerto Rican-born players having the opportunity to wear 21, I think is amazing. I think Major League Baseball got it right. So we have Eddie, Edwin Rios, and Kike, and I wanted Kike to be in there tonight for that reason, and obviously I expect him to help us win a baseball game. You know, as far as the Hall of Fame, I just think that, you know, in his time playing, he was one of the best players. So I think that it's kind of an era time, you know, which should constitute the Hall of Fame, and certainly what he did off the field warrants it. So I think that, you know, in time that it'll happen. I'm very hopeful.
As far as the number being retired, what do you think about that? Like, much like Jackie's.
Yeah, you know what? I think that with, you know, African-American players, black players, and what Jackie did for the color barrier and civil rights certainly was a no-brainer. But when you're talking about Latin players, not only Puerto Rican players, identify with Roberto Clemente. So you look at the landscape of Major League Baseball now, just Latin American players are a big part of it, and why this industry has flourished. So, you know, I probably don't know enough, but I just really hope we consider as an industry retiring Roberto Clemente's number because of what, you know, not only he did for baseball when he was playing, but even currently.
Okay, thank you so much, Dave.
Yeah.
Next question is from Pedro Gomez. Go ahead.
Hey, Doc. You live there. You grew up there. You still have 3 games left against them. But when you look at this Padres club, what jumps out to you? Why are they different this year?
There's a confidence. You know, obviously, I think it's the chicken or the egg, performance versus confidence, confidence versus performance. I think that AJ's done a nice job of getting some free agents, development, you know, so young players, obviously Tatis at the forefront, but they're just playing with a lot of confidence.
And since you're from there, the Chargers are gone now. What do you think it means for the Padres to be this successful for the city?
No, it's a great city. It's a great city. It's a great sports city. Unfortunately, you know, there's only soccer and Major League Baseball. But the fans are very energetic, enthusiastic, knowledgeable. So it's great for the city, certainly.
Thanks, Dave.
Yep.
Next question from Dbacks. Go ahead.
Dave, now that you've had about 42, 43 games to watch the way this season has been played, do you feel like whether it's opponents or your own players have been affected in a positive or negative way with or without fans? Do you feel like some players have benefited by not having the pressure of the fans all over them?
I think that the home field advantage, more so for us, is not as much of an advantage. And granted, we played well at home because of the lack of fans and kind of that variable, you know, being a part of the game in big crucial moments. I think that as far as players in general not having fans to motivate them, play for the fans, I think it has kind of affected some guys. I think that you'd love to say that it doesn't affect, but guys play to compete. They play for fan adoration and cheers. So to not have it, it certainly makes a difference. But I think as a whole, our guys have done a great job kind of still playing to the level that they're capable of.
Do you feel like the lack of video in game has affected players more than the fans not being in the stands?
I don't know. That's debatable. I think that, you know, because when you're talking about video, I think on the surface, you look at more helping the hitters because they can kind of make in-game adjustments. There's also benefit for the pitchers. You know, pitching coaches do the same thing as hitting coaches do. for me, obviously certain guys are calling out for it. But for me as a coach, I would say that some of our guys have benefited without it. But you can make an argument both ways.
Would you prefer moving forward? Obviously in society, some of the things that we've adjusted our lives to may become permanent. Would you be in favor of no video in games available moving forward? Do you feel like that's benefited your team?
No, I would say benefit or kind of hurt. I think that our guys have realized that this is the way it is, and under the constructs of the rules, we're going to kind of abide by them and make the best. But I think for me, I think video we got to figure out a way that it could be incorporated, because I do think that the adjustment part of it is a big part of games, and winning and losing and what teams can or can't make adjustments should be given the opportunity, teams should. But right now, obviously, we didn't get it right, and there was some foul play. So they had to kind of go cold turkey, which I agree with now. But I hope that we can figure out a way that we can get back to having video in game.
Thanks, Dave.
Next question is from Ken Green. Go ahead.
Okay, you said that Jock hit today. Does that mean that he might return before Saturday?
I don't see that happening. I think that we have the off day Friday, so expect him back on Saturday.
Okay, and is Justin Turner running yet?
I would say yes, he is, but it's a 50 to 60%.
So he's still a week away, probably.
I got the under on a week, but he's moving around. But certainly, I would see the first game or two would be a DH. But I still, again, for me, Kenny, it's more. We'll see how it is day to day, and hopefully this weekend is in play. But if not, then we'll just kind of, be ready when he's ready.
Thanks.
Next question is from Bill Plunkett. Go ahead.
I was going to ask you about Turner as well, but do you have any clarity on the starting rotation going forward?
No, with the off day on Friday,
Right.
We're going to kind of, and what we went through yesterday, obviously we've got Clayton going tonight and then Dustin going tomorrow. And then I think that we'll just have more clarity, Bill, once we get through this series.
And what's the
also
hold?
Walker, just trying to figure out how he looks in the next couple of days. So we just don't know enough.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Time for one more. Go ahead, Eric.
Dave, we saw earlier when you guys had a walk-off and it was sort of a muted celebration. I'm just wondering if you clinch a postseason spot or a division, like in a normal year, you might clinch a wild card first and then the division later, so you have two celebrations. How do you handle that this year? Do you celebrate when you qualify for the postseason, even though that might not be your goal?
I think so. And to what degree remains to be seen, but I am all about celebrating things, whatever it might be, small victories, or something as far as clinching a postseason spot. There's nothing guaranteed. So I do believe that it'll be a little bit more tempered, and we'll be mindful of the social distancing, of course. But I hope our guys want to celebrate, because it's nothing that we should take for granted.
Thanks.
Yep.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, guys.